I had seven older brothers and sisters. I can't tell you how many times I heard someone count to 100. Because even as a baby, when my sister was 7, 8, 9 years old, she would run around the house counting, counting, counting. She really liked to count. My brother, who was only a few years older than I, he would count too. He was getting ready to go to school. So I know that I was 3 when I could count to 100 because we would play hide and seek quite often. And my brother was going to kindergarten, and it was before he had started school. So I know I could. That's actually not very unusual in today's world, but back in the 50s, that was pretty unusual, and people would be surprised that I was able to count so high that I could read, that I could various things. My point being, no one taught me in a formal way, but because of my family and because of how much I heard things repetitively, I learned. In today's episode, number 210, How to Teach, How to Learn, one of the things that we need to recognize is what our kids see and hear over and over and over and over again. They learn. If you don't believe it, if they've watched Frozen 8 or 10 or 12 times, they know how to sing, let it go, let it go. I mean, they just know it. And heaven knows this baby shark thing that kids listen to, I don't know how many hundreds of times, because some little kids will tell Alexa to play it over and over again. And I have a friend who has a daughter named Sydney that she said she'd play it 10 or 12 or 15 times a day. So who knows how many times she heard it, and she knew every word and she knew every note. You need to teach by repeating something a lot. So all of us probably get tired of it. Go pick up your room. Have you done your homework? Eat the rest of your vegetables. I need you to make sure your shoes are next to the door where they belong, so in the morning we're ready to go. Have you fed the dog? Have you taken out the trash? We might miss, as parents, that all of these are teaching words. As we repeatedly say the same thing over and over again, that repetitiveness instructs our children in what we expect and what they need to do and what their responsibilities are. Part of teaching is to repeat oneself a lot of times. Part of learning is to hear it again and again, not always in the same context and not always in the same way. So sometimes it's good to count with a kid by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Sometimes it's good to count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Sometimes it's good to count by threes. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 42, 45, 48, 51. Surprise, new number. Or count by sevens. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 70. There are lots of ways to approach the same thing to help our kids start to grasp the concepts of math, the intervals of numbers. Music is all about intervals and looking at the notes. It actually has a mathematical component. So when we sing, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. You are literally skipping a few points on the scale, but then coming down the scale. And kids start to understand intervals and musicality, rhythm, numbers, letters. That's why we sing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Wow, exactly the same tune, in case you never noticed that before. So it is repetitive, and they are learning. We show them how to put on their clothes with the label in the back. I don't know how many hundreds of times before finally you don't find them putting the label in the front anymore. But initially when they start dressing themselves, you're going to find the label there as often as not. We show them about their right and left feet, but we will still find their shoes on the wrong feet, I don't know how many hundreds of times, before they finally learn that, oh, that's the way it goes. I frequently show kids that this part of the shoe is flat and this part of the shoe is round, because it usually is, and that round part goes on the outside. I've seen lots of kids learn to put the shoes on the right foot a little more quickly that way. That's just a bonus one for you. Tying shoes, which I realize aren't prevalent today, Velcro's around. But my son, he worked and worked and worked on tying his shoes because he wanted to be able to tie his shoes on his 4th birthday. And he could. That was the very day he mastered it. He was very big about what I'll call huge days, and it mattered to him. He learned to ride a bicycle on his 5th birthday. Those things were a big, big deal to him. And so he always had a target goal, and he aimed for it, and he met it. When we are helping our children learn, we need to help them learn to deal with frustration. Because as you learn, I don't know anyone, I mean this with all my heart, who the day they take up something, they have absolute mastery. It just doesn't happen. There is frustration involved in learning. There is disappointment involved in learning. There are unmet expectations involved. Both the individual who is trying to learn and the teacher need to be aware of that. So mom, dad, when your child doesn't get it the first time or the 20th time or the 50th time, you have to hang in there. Your realistic expectation is they are not going to get this quickly. It's going to take time. And there are going to be disappointments. There are going to be setbacks and failures. All of this is part of learning. I used to tell my kids when I taught school, this is what a test is for. A test tells you what you do know now and what you don't know yet. That's what a test tells you. If you study effectively and you know everything and you get 100%, you have an A, that's awesome. That test just told you what you know now. But if you get a 50, it tells you what you don't know yet. You didn't study enough. You didn't pay attention. You really didn't understand. And you didn't ask anyone to help you understand. It tells you what you don't know yet. That's what setbacks and failures are, and you have to handle them. It's part of that process of teaching and learning. Kids, I'm talking under 3 especially, they are avid learners. I mean, those little rascals are sponges. They will say what you say. That's why you don't speak baby talk to a baby a lot. You talk to a child in a regular tone of voice with a regular vocabulary. You explain things to them as you go along, and you help them understand the world around them, and they will just speak to you. They will speak pretty coherently as they are able. They will babble a while before they really develop their words. They will struggle with the right words or the right tenses. They will struggle to put those words into whole sentences, but they will continue to develop in language and speak to you. And as they do that, you just keep speaking to them. You don't need to correct every word they say. No, it isn't I buyed that. It is I bought that. Just say to them, oh, you bought that. That's very nice. Or grandma bought that for you. Use the correct word so they can hear it again. And bite is the logical usage in the English language of the way that past tense is created. So they're actually thinking very logically. They just haven't learned everything about the irregularities of English yet. Be patient, be kind, be gracious, have realistic expectations, and it's okay. They will learn how to speak. They will learn how to walk. They will learn how to run. They will learn how to ride a bicycle. They will learn all of these things, but they will learn these things with multiple attempts, and sometimes triumphs, sometimes failures, and it's perfectly okay. As they get older and the concepts get more complex and more developmentally challenging, again, you have to be a patient teacher, and you also have to recognize your limits. You might actually have to say to your child, I'm not sure I can teach this to you. I don't even know that I understand it myself. We'll get you a tutor. I'll let you have extra time after school. I'll see if your teacher can help you. Maybe you're going to have to wait till your dad gets home. Maybe you're going to have to wait until mom can sit down with you. I think she can explain this better than me. Maybe you even got to sit with your granddad because I think he can tell this to you. Marshal your forces. Recognize you cannot do it all. And in your weaker areas or the places where you don't have a lot of patience, let someone else give you a hand in teaching your child. The world is an amazing place. There is so much cool stuff to discover, to learn, to master. When you are a calm and patient, consistent teacher, and your son or daughter is a calm and gracious, consistent learner, it will be a lifelong adventure. So, learn to teach effectively by example, by word, by illustration, by picture, by movie, by YouTube demonstration video, by book, but especially by repetition. And encourage your child to learn by listening, by doing, by reading, by seeing, by enacting, by succeeding, by failing, by doing it poorly, doing it well, and continue to keep going with one another in the process of lifelong learning as you teach and they are taught. My challenge question for you today is this: how effective of a teacher are you? Because you are your child's main instructor in this whole life process. I will continue to pray for you that you learn and do it well, and that you have a great time on the journey. Thank you for joining me today. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.